of Iowa. As a woman, I'm very concerned about my reproductive health. I'm also concerned about student debt, as I have $90,000 in student loans. But the issue that keeps me awake at night is how we're going to save our planet.
Yeah.
So I want to know what you view as the chief concern in climate change and what your first plan of action is.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Emily.
You're right. There's no greater challenge for us because you and I, others in this room, are going to suffer greater storms and floods and droughts, but our kids and our grandkids, they will see a hell that we can only imagine. If you're concerned about 400,000 apprehensions at the US-Mexico border last year, wait until some countries in the Western Hemisphere can no longer support human life. And that is exactly the direction that we're headed in now. You will then count refugees in the millions coming to this country. I mentioned the floods that we saw in Iowa, the fires in California. So you ask, what do? Day one, we stop any new oil and gas leases on federal land. The existing leases that we have, we make sure they reflect the full cost of pollution and climate change. Every procurement decision, every dollar we spend in the federal government, that will also reflect the cost of pollution and climate change. So how we source our building materials, the companies that we work with, all of that will have a climate dimension to it. We'll rejoin the Paris climate agreements, and then we'll work to ensure that we reduce the impact of methane and hydrofluorocarbons, which are many thousands of times deadlier in terms of their impact on the greenhouse gas effect for this planet. I'll work with Congress to marshal $5 trillion of investment over the next 10 years to fully free ourselves from a dependence on fossil fuels, embrace renewable energy and the next generation of technologies that some country, could be China, it could be us, and I want it to be us, is going to come up with and lead the rest of the world. And importantly, for Iowa, and really for this country, I'm going to put farmers and ranchers and rural communities in the driver's seat. I'm going to make sure that we pay farmers for the environmental services that they want to be able to provide, keep more land in conservation, plant cover crops to pull more carbon out of the air, use precision and no-till and regenerative grazing practices so that we restore our land, purify our water, and save the planet at the same time. If we're willing to do all of those things, as well as fortify those communities who are on the front lines of climate change right now, very often lower income communities and communities of color, then we can take our rightful role as the indispensable nation, convene the other powers of the planet, and ensure that they do their part as well. All of that has to come together if we're going to meet this challenge over the next 10 years. And it cannot be met by half steps or half measures or only half the country. And that's why democracy and bringing everybody in and making sure that everyone's will is reflected is central to our success when it comes to climate change or any other big challenge that we face. Thanks for raising the issue. Really appreciate it. Thanks.